Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a person that you should know. She's well known in Illinois, at least the district number 61. We're talking to Joyce Mason, the state representative, a newly elected state representative in Illinois District 61. Good evening, Joyce.
Hello. Thanks, Dr. Brooks.
Congratulations, and we're very happy that you have taken time from your busy schedule to be with us on Community Forum to let Lake County know who you are. As a matter of fact, if you haven't been known around the world, you will be after this program. drbrooks.tv. If our listening audience tune in to that, they'll see this program and what a great person you are. But let's start off by, I would say this, that everyone has a purpose-driven life, right?
Yeah.
We're not here, God didn't put us here just to be here. He had a purpose for us to be here. But when you graduated from high school, you had no idea that you would be in a position that you're in now, right?
No, absolutely
Tell
not.
us what
in fact, a year ago, I didn't know.
Tell us about your experience coming out of high school. What was your goal?
Oh, gosh. Well, that was a very long time ago. I went to high school in Chicago. I'm born and raised in Chicago.
Okay.
And, at the time, I wanted to do something relating to people, helping people. I wound up in a career in human resources, which, some people think of as the principal's office. But in my experience, human resources can make or break a company with, helping people and lifting them up and developing them. And that's the kind of human resources I've been in. And so, after high school, I went and I got my bachelor's degree in communications at the University of Illinois at Chicago.
Okay.
And then I went on and got my MBA, my master's in business administration at Keller Graduate School of Management. So I did that, and, I had my career in business, which continued when I started my family. I wanted to be home with my kids, and so I started doing my own consulting business, consulting with organizations, using the experience that I had had in business and human resources. And I also started teaching graduate school business courses so that I could really stay active in my field. And I was teaching working professionals. Never in a million years did I think about politics, although I was always interested in current events and politics, and I always found ways to give back and volunteer and be involved. I never imagined that I would actually be running for office at any point in time.
So you've always been in people-related areas. Right?
I do. I love people. Some more days than others, but people never cease to inspire. They never cease to, keep you on your toes. But I think it's those personal relationships and, knowing that we're all here in this world together and working together, that sort of keeps us going. None of us lives in a box. We're all here occupying this world together.
So while we're on the topic, youngsters may be listening who are in high school, but tell us how important education is.
Oh gosh, it's so important. And, I grew up reading all the time. And reading is one of the most important things that you can do. And for kids out there, I hear them say, I don't like to read, it's boring, it's not interesting. And, there's a whole world of video and games and computers out there and stuff, but I will tell you, when you have a great book, and I think that people who think that reading isn't exciting, just it hasn't found the right kind of book yet. So, but when you do that and you read and you learn and you speak with other people and you educate yourself and you look at what's around and you work on meeting different types of people, you know, it's all part of that growth. And you can take all of the different things that you've learned and it helps make your world bigger. So even though I might have been studying business, or even though, you know, I might have taken a geology class and studied rocks, like, it just helps you everywhere you go. It helps you be a more interesting person. It helps you see the world in a different light. And, you know, being in human resources, I know that education is so important for another reason, and that's being able to have a great job and, you know, make a living and make a life for yourself. So many times we say you just need that piece of paper, that degree, to be able to get a decent job. But also, you know, college isn't for everyone, but a good education can help people get into the trades, can help do a variety of other things. So even if you think you're not bound for college, there are lots of other avenues that you can do as well that's still education. But it's really important to do those things so that you can have the life that you want. And if you raise a family, your family can. Because without that, you don't have a whole lot of opportunities or options for yourself. And you don't want to find yourself in a position where, you know, this is all there is.
You know, Joyce, I mentioned high school, but data shows that if a child is having difficulty reading at the third grade level, that child is going to preparing himself or herself for doing incarceration.
Yeah.
Third grade level. So how did they come up with third grade, though?
You know, it's so tragic, but yeah, their research showed that based on reading scores for third graders, if reading levels were below a certain amount, that's how they determine how many jail cells to build, you know, 20 years down the line.
Amazing.
So for education and, you know, being an educator at heart too, we have to really focus on those little ones and literacy skills and focus on getting that reading level up, because how sad that a child can be written off and have, you know, you look at a beautiful third grader out playing outside and you think there's already a jail cell being built for them. That's so tragic, isn't it?
You know, I mentioned, we mentioned about reading, but you have another career that you're involved in, and that was housing. Tell us about your housing. Let's see, that was what, Lake County Housing?
Yeah. It's, you know, it's one of those really good examples of when you broaden your horizons and you learn a lot of things, you can get involved in a lot of different things. So human resources was my profession, business. And I wound up, I was speaking at a charity event for a Safe Place, which is a domestic violence organization here in Lake County. My children and I are survivors of domestic abuse. And I was asked to speak at this gala about being a survivor. And afterwards, the executive director of the Lake County Housing Authority spoke with me and said, you know, I have this very unique job that we're trying to fill, and it's half human resources and half public relations. And he said, you know, I've looked at your background and I know you have a long background in human resources, and I've just seen you speak and tell your story. So I think you might be great at public relations. And I thought, wow, you know, that's not really anything that I had done. I had studied some in college. But I loved the mission of the Housing Authority, and I loved the work that they did in the community. And so I said, sure, let's give it a shot. So I did all of the human resources for the Housing Authority, and then I did public relations. So things like planning events, things like working with the seniors in public housing, doing when the Marion Jones demolition happened in North Chicago, helped plan some of that. So it was fascinating. And, talking about always learning, the 2 years that I spent there, 2 years or so, I learned so much about the needs of that community and the lower income community, the people who, need public housing, and all that goes along with that. So I think that was, when I talk about my journey, my adventure of life, that was something that really helped prepare me for what I'm about to do now, because it just helped me get a greater understanding of some of the residents in the area and what their needs are.
I mentioned that because my career is similar to yours. When I finished high school, like you, I didn't know what I had typewriter. That's all I had.
I had a typewriter too then, so.
But it led to higher things, and so you never know. But so I'd like to ask you, what youngsters should be doing is setting their goals high.
Yeah.
But I think Mrs. Obama mentioned set them high, but then higher.
Right.
So you always set your goals because you never know.
You never know. And the other thing too, I spent some time working at the College of Lake County, helping students get job ready, helping them with their resumes and helping them look for internships and things.
Okay.
And I always told them, and I tell people now, not just young people, you might think that you want to be here and maybe you reach here and you're totally happy.
Okay.
But don't exclude all of this because there's so much out there. I always say follow your heart, follow your passion. You think you're in human resources, but there's something in public relations and you have the skill to do it and you're interested in it. My motto has always been do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
Okay.
And, we all have to earn money and we all have to earn a living and we can't just all, I would love to travel the world all the time. But, if you follow that inner self that says, gosh, I'd really like to do this, then you don't wake up quite so, I have to go to work today. You think, wow, this is what I get to do today. So, I thought I was going to do X, Y, Z, and here I am, a newly elected state representative.
Well, since you mentioned that, tell us about the Illinois State Legislature.
Wow. Well, it's exciting. Today is actually 1 month since the election.
Okay, right.
Which is, it's flown by. A lot of people ask me, like, what have you been doing this last month? Have you been sleeping? And I did take 1 day after Election Day and just, crashed. But since then, I have been meeting with other elected officials, with some of the mayors in the district, with some of the nonprofits, with, lots of different groups, township supervisors, major employers, small businesses. And so it's been really exciting. I've been learning as much as I can, listening to what they need, because the state representative, really, we're here to represent, and that was a big reason why I ran. I want to make sure that I'm representing everyone in the district.
And you had motto, don't let your voice go unheard.
That's right.
It's very important.
Yeah, so I am now, I was listening through the whole campaign, but I'm committed to being out there, talking with everyone. I have, meetings planned with groups of business owners, with regular people, with veterans, just to talk about what's important to them and let them guide me in the work that I now need to do. So I have things certainly that I'm interested in, like public education, like making sure our air and water are clean, like lowering our property taxes so we can all continue to live here in this great district, creating jobs and educational opportunities for people beyond elementary and high school. So many different things, but I want to hear from the people and I want to hear what is keeping them up at night, what they need to do to be successful and sleep well, knowing that their families are doing okay, knowing that we can create better futures for our children.
Okay.
And so, no matter who you are, if you're part of the district, as a resident, as an employer, as a utility, as a business, I want to hear from you, and I want to know how I can help make things better as a representative.
Well, let's talk about how busy you're going to be. How you said you represent 61, right?
Yes.
Legislative District 61. How large is that district?
Wow. Well, it's about a little over 100,000 people.
Okay.
About 108,000.
Okay.
It includes Gurnee,
Okay.
Wadsworth, Lindenhurst, Lake Villa, Old Mill Creek, Antioch, Zion, Winthrop Harbor, Beach Park. So it's quite a few towns and very diverse, right? So we have the real suburban, mallish areas to very rural, low income, high income. We have quite a diverse area, and it's been so exciting the last 18 months to be knocking on doors and talking to people and learning about different things. But there are quite a lot of things happening. So, balancing that is going to be interesting. But I'm also part of a much bigger collective group for the state of Illinois. So we have all of the representatives working together to try to pass our legislation. And last week, I spent the week in Springfield. They had new legislator training. And all of the new legislators, Democrat, Republican, in the House and Senate, were together learning about the way things work and where the bathrooms are and, all that good stuff. But, I sometimes I was sitting next to someone where, they were complete agriculturally based, farms in Illinois. And then I was sitting next to someone who's downtown, with the high rises. And then there were the suburban people. So together we propose legislation that we think will help our districts. But collectively we have to do things that will help all of Illinois. And Illinois's got some big challenges right now, so.
Well, you never know. Senator Link from the 30th Senatorial District, he was sitting next to Obama.
He was.
At one time,
Yeah.
right? And Obama went on to be President of the United States.
That's incredible.
So you never know who you sitting next
That's
to.
true. That's true. And, I was so excited to meet so many of the new legislators. Oh, may I get that for you? Here.
I'm sorry.
No, I've got it. Because I feel like there was such a great group of people who just ran for the right reasons and really, again, Illinois is kind of, we've had some tough times and really wanted to go out and make some change. And a lot of just real, regular people instead of people who always grew up dreaming of being a politician. So it's kind of an exciting time that there are people just really devoted to wanting to create positive change.
Now, you will be sworn in January the 9th.
Yes.
So you mentioned about the things that you'll be doing in between getting ready.
Yeah. I've been doing a whole lot of different things, and if I may, my absolute favorite thing so far was my Thanksgiving Day. So the Lake County Building Trades, which is a union, they got together and for the first time they adopted some naval base recruits from the Great Lakes Naval Base.
Fantastic.
And they got about 25 to 30 recruits, picked them up in the morning and brought them to the Union Hall, and I joined them. We had breakfast for the recruits, and then lunch, and then a full Thanksgiving dinner. And these kids really, they're so young. My 18-year-old daughter came, and she was about the same age as most of them. They came and they had been in boot camp really this whole time. So they've been isolated.
Right.
No ability to talk to family. No, they couldn't have coffee. They couldn't have pop. So this was their first time out. And I believe it was AT&T donated some extra tablets and phones. And we pulled out ours and handed them over. And to watch them FaceTiming and calling their parents and their grandparents, and some of them their babies. There were some parents that hadn't talked to their kids in that long. And we had board games, and we had a pool table, and watching football. Just spent the whole day there with them. And it was so amazing to be there and talking with them. And, we're sitting at the table, and they're saying, I can't wait to find out where I'm going to be sent, once boot camp is over. And I just looked at them and said, my gosh, you are so brave. Like, here you are so young.
Okay.
And I worry about my daughter if she's like out at 8 o'clock at night. And they just got up and left their states, because they were from all over the country, to serve us and to protect us. And they don't even necessarily know where they're going to end up. Right. And I thought, how brave is that to do that? And it was just an amazing day. Like, I teared up more than a few times, of course, because I'm emotional. But so Pete Olson, who was one of the people who planned this event, I just looked at him and I said, hey, Pete, if you do this again next year, I'm all in. This is where I want to spend my Thanksgivings. And he said, oh my gosh, how could we not? So I think it's going to become a new tradition. But my dad was an Army veteran who served during the Korean War.
Well, I was in Korea too. But,
wow.
54 and 55, I don't know what year you was.
Gosh, I don't even know. I should know that, but I don't. I know election night, after we found out that, my race had been successful, my sister came up and she had this oddly wrapped package for me, and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, this needs to be in your office in Springfield. And I opened it up, and it was my dad's flag in a case. And of course, we both cried, but that was so meaningful that she would, give that to me to have in the office. It's going to have a really special place. So.
Well, one topic is concern about everyone, not only the 61st District, but you said all of you work together anyway. But property tax, tell us about that issue.
Yeah.
And you said maybe related to, well, it is related to education funding,
Yeah, it's, I think it's one of the biggest challenges that Illinois faces right now. And certainly, as I, spent over a year going door to door talking with people, property taxes was like way up here. People are being priced out of their homes. Seniors who have paid off their homes and thought that they were okay now, their property taxes have gone up so much that it's like they have a whole new mortgage payment.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are having to move because of it and losing their homes.
Or move into what, reverse
mortgages.
Reverse mortgaging?
Right.
Which is giving away their homes.
It is.
Eventually,
it is. Right. And so then their children, if they have any, don't have that to pass on. And, it's not what should happen with seniors, right? And it's not what should happen with families. I know that my property taxes have gone up so much that it's, as much as my mortgage now. And it's a struggle for me. And I know one of the tales on the campaign trail, my opponent was saying, she's going to raise your property taxes. And I would say, I'll lose my house if it goes up anymore. I can't. Right. I can't possibly. And it affects renters as well, because, the person that owns whatever you're renting is certainly passing the cost on.
The
rent, but so the idea for public school funding was that the state take on the majority of the funding for public schools. But in Illinois, a lot of that has gotten pushed onto our property taxes. And in fact, 75% of our property taxes goes to education. And the problem with that is Number one, well, the state isn't paying their share, so we keep getting, more and more. But also, there's an inequity then in funding with our schools.
Okay.
So if you have an area that has high property values, their schools are getting more money than an area that's very low income that has low property values, and their tax rates go up even higher to try to make up the difference. So the people that can least afford it are getting some of the highest tax rates. So it's not fair. It's not fair to our children because children in one school are getting so much more than children in another school. It's not fair to the people that live there.
What could the state do in that case? For instance, North Chicago is next door to area that has maybe $2 billion assessed valuation, and North Chicago has about maybe 500 million. Maybe if that much, maybe not that much. But how can the state regulate that?
Yeah, well, we just, at the end of last year, a little change in the school funding formula happened that that equalizes it a little bit, but it didn't go nearly as far as it should have. There were other bills proposed that unfortunately Governor Rauner vetoed. But I think that we need to do more work in, one, being able to equalize that funding a little bit, but also return to having more of the state paying than relying on our property taxes. And yes, we're all still kind of paying for it because obviously it all comes out of the same way, but it's more equal. So if we push more of the funding to the state, then we can rely on things like, taking it from the income taxes for big corporations. We can look at a millionaire's tax, and Illinois has their share of them, right?
Oh, yes.
Even J.B. Pritzker says he should be paying more in taxes, and he should.
What is he, a billionaire?
Yeah, for sure, right? Governor Rauner, should he choose to stay here, should be paying more in taxes. And we have to stop putting it all on the middle class and low income folks.
Well, the big question is that the state is a problem in funding themselves.
Yeah.
So how you're going to get the state to look at the local
One of the
property
things
taxes?
One of the things we have to do is we have to cut back on unnecessary spending, and I don't mean cutting services for people. I mean really looking at ways that we can save money. Like there are a number of different computer systems doing parallel jobs. How can we consolidate those? There's, our Medicaid plan has gone unaudited for a very long time, and then when they did, they found excess spending that didn't go to the people, went to the insurance companies, but were not properly audited. So we really need to look, just like we're a family, and we are a big family, right? Look at where we're spending too much money, look at where we can be more cost conscious, and then we have to look at opportunities to bring more companies in to create more jobs, so we have people making more money and, paying more taxes, not higher taxes, just people who are now employed and who can pay into taxes, right, by creating more jobs. And we have to stop our college students from leaving Illinois. So because we have so many college students that are going out of state because it's cheaper to go to college, and they're taking their income with them and the money that they're spending. So if we make college more affordable here and we find ways to help provide low cost debt, or not debt, but lending for colleges, then we can keep more of those people there. We have their spending while they're here, but then we also have their growth as they continue on in their careers. They make more money, they start their own businesses here. So there are a whole variety of ways that we can approach this. Not any one solution is going to fully cover it, and it's not going to be overnight either. I mean, it's going to take some really hard work, some long work, but I believe if we head in the right direction, you know, my mom would always say, watch your pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. And that's true, and I think, you know, we need to really just start looking at those details instead of throwing up our arms and saying, it's that person's fault, it's that person's fault. Like, how are we going to get together and fix this?
Well, specifically in 61, what issues a high priority on your list?
Well, education, I think, is a priority across the board, but we have some school districts that really, you know, need some extra
Even
help.
in 61, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go all the way to Zion, Winthrop Harbor, Beach Park, so that whole area. So that's important. We have some issues with needing more jobs and, more educational opportunities and more opportunities for vocational training. So as I mentioned before, not everybody is you know, college bound, and college is not for everybody, but there are great careers and great opportunities like in the trades that people can be very successful in. So we have a lot of infrastructure needs, roads and bridges and expanding train lines and stuff to help move us better. We have a lot of gridlock in the district. So by investing in some of those things, we can create more jobs. We should be training people in our communities to do them and giving them opportunities to learn and not only better their lives, but have a workforce available to do those things. I'm a big fan of clean energy, so solar and wind power. And I would love to look at ways to have our part of Lake County be a leader in that area, not just because it's healthier for our families, but because I think that those are some major careers of the future when you look at up and coming careers. And we have the ability to educate and train people right here in our communities to learn this technology of the future and then be able to reap the benefits of bringing this energy here. So in the Woodland School District, we're working on a solar project right now where it's not costing the district any more money to have these solar panels brought in, but we are going to benefit from millions of dollars in lower energy costs, and then we'll even be able to sell off the excess energy that we bring in. So that's kind of an exciting thing, and other cities have done that on a much grander scale. And so it reduces costs, energy costs, and creates jobs, makes our air and water cleaner, and what a great thing that is.
Now you are playing a dual role now, and will you continue to have a dual role? You're a school board member on the Woodland School District.
I am, yeah. I'm the vice president.
Vice president, congratulations.
Thank you. And you know, I love Woodland. I love my school district. I'm making some decisions now about what I need to do. On one hand, I'm not sure it's fair for one person to have two elected offices. I know it's allowed technically.
Okay.
But two, I want to be able to make sure I'm doing the absolute best job that I can in whatever job that I'm doing. So I don't want to be an in-name only board member. And so I really need to figure out whether I can contribute as much as I want to contribute. And if I can't, then I'm going to have to let it go and let someone come in who really can do the job that all the great people at Woodland deserve.
Now, the Woodland School tenure, is that 4 year?
It is 4 years,
And
so I have 2 years to go.
And you have 2 years for
Technically, yeah.
the state?
2 years for the state,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So, it's, yeah.
Well,
it's an exciting
you know, everyone is talking about the blue wave that hit this country.
Yes.
And it also hit Lake County too, right?
It hit Lake County, yeah, like a tsunami, I think. It's quite an exciting time for Democrats. I am the first Democrat elected to this seat, which
The first Democrat
yeah,
to that seat.
yeah.
So blue wave
That's
hit
pretty
Lake,
cool,
Lake County.
isn't it?
Yeah, right.
But so much. I mean, our Lake County board became a Democratic majority
For
for
the
the
first
first
time.
time in 180
years.
years, something like that.
Wow, wow.
Over 100 years for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
And you know, our treasurer, our sheriff,
Clerk?
Lake County clerk, yes, all of that
Wow.
turned over. So it's kind of an amazing time. I think that, you know, I think people really need to remember what I perceive the Democratic Party to be is the party of working families, you know, everyday families who go to work and get their paycheck, you know, whether that's low income, middle, high income, you know, and I think people are starting to recognize that that you know, we are the party that looks out for education, for jobs, for workers' rights, for things like that. It's so important. But what I really hope is going to happen is that Democrat or Republican, I hope that we're all going to work in the best interest of the district. And, you know, I mean, I'm proud to be a Democrat. I absolutely am. But I want our district to get all of the great things that it deserves and to help everyone, no matter what, you know, what red or blue, whatever they identify with. I just think that we've lost a lot of the collaboration and a lot of sort of the dignity of public office, and that we have to sort of let go of the you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, I'm not going to work with you. And, you know, I said it during the campaign and I mean it now. If you have a genuine interest in working with me, then I want to work with you. And I really, really do. So I hope that there's going to be more of that. I think we're finding that playing games of chicken does not work for anybody in the long run. But, you know, I support the democratic values and believe that, you know, we need to take care of all and not just the few, not just the wealthy few.
Well, tell us about, actually, leadership plays a great role, not only in your field, but in everywhere, because you have shown great leadership. The reason
You're
that you're in the
kind.
position that you're in now, there's no doubt about that, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I try to show collaboration, but I step up when I need to. Yeah.
Okay. What about interest groups? Do you have any problem with interest groups? Of course, they have needs they want to meet too, and that taking control
Yeah.
of your thinking. Or
No.
How
I
do
mean,
you-
my
how
phone
do you
has
handle
been
that?
my phone has been ringing off the hook for
Okay,
sure, and
right.
and I am committed to talking with and meeting with everybody to hear. I've had some great conversations with people and organizations that, you know, view the world a little bit differently
Okay.
than I do. So I'm always ready to listen. And, you know, sometimes you miss something and sometimes you don't quite get where people are coming from. You know, education is certainly important to me, and I do identify with a lot of the educational groups just because that's, you know, I believe they have the best interest of our
Yeah.
students and our educators in mind. But no, there's not anyone particular like dangling anything in front of me or over me, you know. It's interesting because during our training we were talking a lot about the role of lobbyists and
Yes.
special interest groups, and one of the more senior legislators who was presenting said, you know, you don't have to think of them as evil like a lot of people do.
Right,
They are oftentimes experts in whatever they're, you know, talking about.
Yeah.
And if they're good at what they do, they tell you their side, but they also tell you what opposition will say. So they might say, I believe in this, but other groups will tell you they believe in this. And if it's done right, they should really give you the big picture, but try to convince you why theirs is right.
Yeah, that's the key, right?
Yeah, instead of just sort of lying to you and pushing one agenda. And so, if that's the case, I look forward to it because it helps me learn and build a bigger picture. But I also am a firm believer. I'm very analytical and I love to research myself. So, I intend to do a lot of listening, but then I intend to do a lot of my own exploration of topics.
Tell us about the state of Illinois. You mentioned that there. Tell us how many senatorial districts there are, and how many let's say congressional districts. The House districts. Yeah.
Legislative. We have 118 House districts.
118 House, okay.
And then we have 59 senatorial seats. Okay. So Senator Melinda Bush is the senator for my area.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sam Yingling is the other representative. He's in the Grays Lake, Round Lake area. Melinda sort of shares both of us. So Senator Bush.
She has shown great leadership, too.
She's amazing. Great. She's been an incredible role model to me. And, I got to know her working on the board of A Safe Place, the domestic violence organization.
Okay.
And I watched the amazing work that she has done, both for domestic violence, but for education, for so many different things. And I certainly do look up to her, so I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to work with her and provide service to our constituents together. That's really cool.
Thank you for sharing the number of senatorial districts in the state of Illinois, 59, and House districts, that's 118.
Yeah.
So this is very important for, and our listening audience happy to find this out because I'm learning right along with my listening audience too,
Sure.
So, but tell us, we speak about the two different, the House and the senatorial districts, but organizing a campaign must have been a real challenge for you then, right? Tell us about that challenge.
It was a whole new world, for sure. So, prior to this, I ran for school board.
Okay.
And I thought, well, how much different could it be?
Right.
Right. So for school board, I went out and got 50 signatures on my petition. And my daughter helped me. We worked together and we created a little walk piece. And I went and knocked on doors and talked to people and, bought some yard signs. And
okay.
This was a really incredible movement.
Right.
On one hand, I needed to raise a lot of money.
Okay.
And, a lot of that was very grassroots. So,
okay.
I'm a mom. We got together a lot of other moms working together. Our campaign office was pretty amazing because we had people from, high school students to senior citizens. We had Democrats and Republicans coming in to help because they just believed in what we were doing. And, I got considerable help from the Democratic Party, for sure.
Yeah.
And, that's something that my opponent was critical of. But she got an equal amount, if not more, from the Republican Party.
Okay.
So it's all about how you frame it. I believe in campaign finance reform. I would love it if everyone would get an equal amount of money or have limits on the amount of money that you could spend.
Okay.
But it's very disingenuous to say that only one party should not be able to spend money. I think it's really actually kind of a brilliant marketing plan that they have that, you know, to be able to do this. But the amount of money is incredible in elections. And, you know, but we worked really hard to be able to fundraise besides the party money and, you know, get everyday people involved, from donations, you know, $3,
Whatever.
$20, $50. But what I really had to do mostly was talking with people. And I spent for about a year, I would just go out and knock on doors and talk to neighbors 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week. And then closer to election time, it was 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week. And going to community events and, you know, just meeting people and just listening. And, you know, I talked with Democrats and hardcore Republicans. And, you know, sometimes I had the door slammed in my face. But sometimes, you know, I said, really, you're not going to talk to me just because, you know, I'm part of one party? And then they'd say, oh, okay. And we talk and we find out we all want the same things, right? We want our kids to be happy and well educated. We don't want to lose our homes to property taxes. We want clean water to drink. We don't want to wind up like Flint, Michigan. You know, we all want to be happy and live our lives, right? So I think, you know, when you have those door-to-door, face-to-face conversations, that's where you can connect on a personal level, and you can really find out like what's important to people.
I'm very impressed that you mentioned that a year ago you started. In the last election, we had campaigners just a week or two before the election, passing out cards, coming to our church and coming to just, you know, and you don't, that's poor campaigning, I think. But
it's easier, I think.
Cheaper too,
it's easier,
you know.
yeah.
But you don't win elections like that.
No. My kids and I ate a lot of macaroni and cheese because I had to cut back on working.
Okay.
But no, I mean, you know, if there are 108,000 people in the district, my goal was to knock on everybody's door 3 times at least, and, you know, try to reach them and talk to them. And, you know, I made phone calls if the weather was too bad. And, you know, I think it's really important to be listening.
You had the social media too that you use quite a bit too,
I did,
right?
That's
a big factor.
And that is big. And, you know, it's a great way to be able to reach people. It's also, you know, it's anonymous for some people, so people can get quite mean on social media and email. But that's sort of how our world is right now. And sometimes people sit behind the keyboard and think, you know, it's not like I'm talking to a real person, so I could just, you know, type what I'm thinking, whereas face-to-face, you can actually connect and realize that, oh, wow, you are a person with feelings and who cares about things. But social media was a really great way to connect with people. And two, you know, I don't always like it when people knock on my door. People aren't talking quite as much. And, you know, that's maybe we're working a lot, we're worried about crime, we're worried about who's at our door, we're worried about whatever. So social media gives people the opportunity to then communicate when maybe you wouldn't open the door and answer. And that's kind of nice.
Did you ever get a lot of dialogue about gun violence prevention?
Yeah, it's been a big topic, and, you know, our district has a lot of people that really are concerned about their Second Amendment rights. And I understand that. I do. It's part of our Constitution. It's important. Full disclosure, I have a FOID card myself. I do. So I absolutely appreciate that right. But we've also had so many horrific tragedies across the country and, you know, even here in our state. And there has to be a way to make our communities safer.
Okay.
There has to be. And it doesn't have to mean taking everybody's guns away. It has to be really using some common sense things, like making sure that everyone who sells a gun is, has a license and is doing their business in the proper way and only selling to people they should be selling to. It means that people who have violent histories shouldn't be allowed to have a weapon. Things that are just very common sense. And so I think that that's really important, because I know when I was a child, I wasn't afraid to go to school. And I've had college students and even elementary school students saying to me, how are you going to keep me safe when I'm in school? And that's supposed to be like the safe place.
But do you believe it's safe to keep kids in school by recommending the teachers have
I don't.
weapons?
No, I don't agree with that. Yeah, and I believe that there are other ways. Teachers are trained to teach,
Okay.
and I don't think that they should play a dual role of security guard
Okay.
and teacher. So that's my personal thought. I welcome other thoughts on it. I'm always happy to listen. I don't think it's been proven to be the safest
No,
answer.
when you have someone go into a chapel or church and
Yes,
with a rapid fire weapons,
it's terrible.
teacher not going to stop that.
That's true. That's true.
It's keeping the weapons out of the hands
Yes,
of those that should not have one.
absolutely. Yeah. And I was very surprised, I did a round of different churches too, expanded my horizons there, and I was very surprised to see armed people at the doors of the churches too. And it just sort of blows my mind.
I'm aware some
Yeah.
pastors got security guards, and they few of them have weapons themselves.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness! It's,
And in the house of worship, in the place where we are all supposed to be family and safe,
right.
it kind of blows my mind a little bit. Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned about the environment. Tell us about the environment in Lake County.
Yeah. Well, we've had some recent headlines in the news about some local companies that are putting some dangerous substances in the air, and that's something that is very much at the top of my radar to learn more about and talk about and see what regulations are necessary, whether our families are safe. I need a whole lot more information, but we need to make sure that we are not causing our families cancer. I mean, that should go without saying. But we also have Foxconn, which is right across the border, that is using a lot of Lake Michigan water. They're recycling it, they're putting it back, but we don't know what temperatures, we don't know if anything's being added to it. So we need to be really careful with that. Growing up, even though I was a Chicago girl, I grew up camping at Zion State Park. And I would sit there and, I would look at the nuclear power plant looming, but I would also see the signs saying, warning, asbestos, if you see this, call this number. And oh my gosh, I brought my kids to play on that beach then when I was older and came here. And so we need to make sure that things like that, and like the nuclear materials that are still stored in our decommissioned plant, are being stored safely. There are so many different things, but also, bringing in more clean energy. And then there are things like the erosion of the shoreline that's taking place. We need to figure out ways to stop that erosion, because we have such a precious, beautiful shoreline and communities that, really thrive on that. And so we need to make sure that we're caring for that as well. And then, when I was at the Housing Authority, I led a project where we brought water to the housing residents in Flint, Michigan, because they weren't getting enough safe water.
Right.
And there our communities have lead pipes in a number of areas. So we need to make sure that that our pipes are safe, that we don't run into problems like that as well.
Well, another area that we can cover, of course, we could go on and on.
Yes.
And about volunteers. Tell us about volunteers, and were you excited? Were the volunteers excited about working with you?
Oh gosh, well,
Because you can't cover the whole 108,000.
yeah, I hope so. We had, as I was saying, we had amazing volunteers. So we had people who brought their kids.
Yeah.
We had teachers. We had plumbers. We had every walk of life come in and volunteer, and it was a pretty amazing thing. And you know, every day I would come in and see people in the office who just picked up the phone and called and said, I want to help, or I want to be involved, or people stop by the office, and a lot of them have become like family now. We went on this journey together, and we're fighting for the same things, and it's amazing. People worked really, really hard because they believed, I don't want to say they believed in me, but they believed in what I was doing, and maybe they believed that there was just a chance that I could achieve it. And I surely don't want to let any of them down.
Well, where do you see yourself 2 years from now?
Well, my hope is that I can represent the people of the district in the way they deserve to be represented.
Okay.
I hope that I can listen and try to turn what I hear into action to benefit them. My hope is that our communities are a little bit better at the end of 2 years, and that, that's not just going to be on me, that's going to be on a whole lot of people working together. And we'll see if I do a good job, if I'm representing people the way that they feel they need to be represented, then, I would hope that they would ask me to continue. But we'll see. I don't have any aspirations of the White House or even Washington, D.C., although I love visiting there. I was there for a conference a couple of days ago, learning with other state legislators from all over the country, which was cool. That was very cool. And it was interesting to share ideas and stories, not just with other legislators from Illinois, but from all over the country. And that was exciting. But
getting more people excited about voting, I guess, because we don't have a high number of people, registered voters, voting in elections. So maybe you're the one that can get them excited, especially in District 61, right?
Yeah. And that's a big topic that we talked about in Washington, D.C. as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been spending the past hour talking with Joyce Mason, State Representative, Illinois District 61. And Joyce, thank you so much.
Thank you,
for spending
Dr.
time,
Brooks. I'm so grateful.
Your precious time with us.
Oh.
And like I mentioned, if you have not been known around the country, you will be after this. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go to drbrooks.tv on your computers and see the show, and also let your constituents know. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host.